Hey everybody, before we get started, I do have a small message from one of our fellow podcasters.
Are you looking for an actual play podcast with young, hot role players, disciplined professional voice actors, and wholesome content? Well, this isn't that podcast. AARPG is an adults-only podcast with interviews, actual play stories where...
Excuse me, Matt, why do you sound like you've been chain smoking since you were a toddler?
What do you mean?
The voice. You don't have to do that voice, man.
I don't?
Nah, just tell them that we're a group of old friends who like to get together, hang out, play lots of different types of games, and we want them to feel like they're sitting at the table with us. And they can find us just by searching for the AARPG podcast on their favorite podcatcher and at the AARPGs on YouTube.
So if you get a chance, give them a listen. Thank you very much, and back to our show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Big Campaign Stories. Today we are doing another lore episode, and with us, a wonderful guest and amazing GM of a very fun podcast, Riley.
Hey, it's me, Riley. How's it going?
Riley is the BM of the Friend and Foe Adventure Co. podcast. That has been a long time friend of the show, so you should listen to it, because it's good and fun.
Yeah, don't be a dummy. Listen to my show, everybody.
Well, you heard it here.
I mean, if you're a fan of well-done campaigns, deep lore, just like big campaign stories, then you're gonna hate my show.
But today, we are going to talk about robots and constructs in the world.
Yes. My favorite thing, robots. Robits.
Robits? Let's see here. So, brief history. First campaign we did not have any robots, any Warforged, anything like that. They dealt with the inevitables, which are planar creatures they're creatures from the plane of Mechanus that look like robots, but effectively that's just their visual appearance is constructed, made of gears and metal and parts. But they are living beings. They're not treated like golems or things like that.
Oh, yeah. Were there, like, other type of constructs?
Yeah, so in D&D Pathfinder, your constructs range from, like, animated scarecrow to iron golem to, like a small homunculus, things like that. And then you have, like, certain planar creatures that can look like a construct, but they don't have any construct traits. So, like, an inevitable comes in a few different varieties, but, like, one of them is, like, the Calariat, which is made of like lots of gears and twisting metal parts and marble coating and all that. But it is treated as a living, breathing creature and less of a it's not treated like it is constructed, but it is not a construct.
Oh, okay.
So it's just, things like that. It wasn't until I think the second campaign that one of my players, the Eberron book came out and they saw Warforged and they're like, whoa, there's robots. And they wanted to play one, and so we came up with lore to bring them into the world, which is where we started with the Silvermen. The Silverman, the first one, had a fun, the backstory being a wandering lone robot in a world with no robots. But the people who lived on the continent that he was at would kind of base their nomadic rotation cycles on if you could see the Silverman coming. As the robot kind of wandered this wild magic desert wasteland. Eventually, at the end of that campaign, the Silvermen found a way to be able to make other robots, and they kind of spark off from there. We end up skipping them for a couple campaigns until the fourth one, where Silvermen are now a more common thing. They have different factions, groups, and that is where we bring in Sean's character, Sindri Jekwin, that was a anti-robot crusader.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I believe that campaign ended with him melting down a lot of robots into a giant throne of which a statue of himself was built facing the gate of which their robot god would come through, with the intent of fighting that robot god whenever he showed up.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a slight robot genocide, and then Mechanus put limits, or what was it? They called it the Jequin Accords, where they basically got Mechanus to sign off on making it so Warforged or Silvermen could only have so many of themselves existing at one time.
This carries into current campaign.
Well, that's why androids end up being made. Silvermen trying to escape the Jequin Accords created basically the next step, which was more, the Warforged Silvermen kind of thing. They looked very clunky robot. Think Geno from Super Mario RPG.
Okay, yeah.
They, wood parts with robot parts, and but they weren't fully into that like more complex, not into our like C-3POs or things like that yet.
Would they be called forest punk?
Yeah, I could say. I'd say
I just like the image of forest punk.
Oh man, that's actually really funny because so the first part of anything dash punk is supposed to be, that's the high part, and then punk's the low part, right? Like cyberpunk is we have high technology but low society.
Yes.
So it's interesting to imagine like forest punk, which means I feel like they're a bunch of crappy campers.
It's just a bunch of hippies.
Yeah, leaving beer cans. They're like, oh, whatever, we're gonna leave our PBRs here in the middle of these redwoods. But then there's like an elite society of people living higher up in the trees who are like, I hate those kids.
I was thinking of like high elves or something, and then there's just like the lowly commoners that are on the forest floor, and I don't know.
Oh, that's like the Jetsons Flintstones theory.
What's this? Oh, yeah, okay. That like they coincide?
Yeah, that the Jetsons live in the city above, and then down below on the ground is where the Flintstones live, but they can't see past the cloud barrier. It's kind of a Morlock Eloy situation.
So they're like caveman punk? Cave punk? No.
Cave core? Like cottage core?
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah.
There's a suffix we can add here.
Yeah, there's definitely something we can make work. Anyway, sorry, distracted. But so how did it evolve into the androids then?
So eventually the Silvermen made the androids being a new race, no longer are bound by the laws that Mechanus had against the Silvermen. So androids are allowed to create and be made freely. This is where, since they could be made though, this is where corporations came in, and this is where we had to bring in the Nix agreements, which were Nix being an original android who ended up running a company, Balanced Engineering, which shows up in the podcast, set up the laws with Amon and other companies of you can't make robot slaves. If it has sentience, it has to be given a choice of body or form or what that. Now, all androids have a core, and you can speak to that core. So people can say like, hey, I would like to buy your services for 30 years. We'll give you a form, and then when you're done, you can keep that. And if they agree to it, then perfectly fine. But they have to be paid and compensated like real people. They cannot. That's why like Amon does not just make androids to work their factories or those sort of things. There's a complex sentience agreement.
So do they can communicate with the core before
they have a
it
form.
Has a form?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? Okay, I imagine the core is the core like what? That's like their soul, kind of, right?
Correct. Soul, consciousness, yeah.
Okay. And then, doesn't it come from somewhere? Where do they come from?
So the androids, as far as the souls that are imbued within them, what is it? In the end of, I think, the 4th campaign, there was the Soul Forge made, which allowed these corporations to be able to access souls to be able to put into androids and things like that. Spoilers, a lot of those souls are creatures that died in previous apocalypses in the game. So elves, dwarves, things like that, those longer lived souls do better in android bodies because they can handle the idea of being alive longer. Versus,
that makes sense.
Yeah, versus like putting a human into an android body. Once they get to roughly human age, they start losing it because they don't have the time perspective is kind of what we decided to be able to handle. Like a human shouldn't live for 200 years. You start forgetting people and you start, we see we see those mental effects in people that live too long normally, which is where you have to think like, okay, cool, dwarves and elves with their 200 or 400 year lifespan must not get dementia at 80. Otherwise, that's a long 320 years of crazy elf king.
Yeah, it's like a degradation of your mind or your soul kind of thing, right? Like,
yeah.
So even though they don't have a physical body, it still affects them. I guess that's a weird thought, though. Is that a mental thing? Is it like, or could a human soul core learn to live beyond that time if it like, could it train to live longer essentially and get the idea of it? Or is it just like eventually you succumb to it?
Yeah, that'd be a fun one to kind of play with. I had players before say that they would kind of, we rolled on like a chart if your soul was a blank soul. If it was entirely new, then it was yours, do as you want. Or if you were like, oh, my character believes they're a reincarnated general from 800 years ago, kind of thing.
Okay.
And so, depending on what they rolled and how they wanted to roleplay it, they would like try to finish off what they couldn't do in life.
Okay.
As that, in order to earn being able to do whatever they want to do as themselves.
That's cool. Okay, well, sorry.
No.
I'm sure you had a certain order you wanted to cover things, but now it just generates more questions because you said a new core versus like an old core. So what are the new cores then?
So the new cores are what we see now with Dosh. So because we're getting to the point now where, funny enough, it's been long enough since the Silvermen and Warforged, so some of the new androids, their souls are those of previous androids or of the old Warforged and the Silvermen. So they are creatures that are built to last forever in bodies that can last forever as long as they're repaired. And that's partially what Dosh is a portion of the sentience of a construct of a robot that was broken apart by the party into a non-existent realm between realities. And so that is the Automol, which was a Silverman that was trying to find a way to get their people out from underneath the Mechanus contract. The Jekwin Accords eventually got broken up into the various pieces of their own emotional states. And that's where like Dosh is part of is Automol's creativity. And you meet like Automol's hope. And Dosh has fought Automol's envy. And you've heard about a few other ones that are out there.
That's right.
The 13 parts of Automol.
Yeah.
And then, the next part, I'll probably after that go with them is towards robots that are more, I think Lucius has one now, like a hard light assistant, but try to see if I can't figure out a way to make work in the rules to have a hard light construct. Have a player be a less than physical model. Like be made out of hard light or information, kind of a Cortana or those sort of things.
Yeah. Well, hard light can interact, can't it? Can it go like a incorporeal and?
Yeah, it's one of those,
ethereal?
What is it? Like an unseen servant, like it can push only like 10, 20 pounds, like it can't make a lot of force.
Okay,
it can't carry a lot, but it doesn't weigh anything really. It can move around more freely. Like it's not going to be constrained as much by, like you couldn't put handcuffs on it. It wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Like you can't put it in a standard jail cell because it'll just walk out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, that's, I mean, as far as in the world, coming from kind of basic force punk bots to are now kind of cyberpunky, Zima Blue style androids. That's the long arc of robots in the game.
Can I ask a bunch of questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, I wrote down questions. So, is there a difference between robot and androids?
Meta-wise, not as much. In-game, we use that to be robots to be non-sentient androids.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought.
Yeah, so that way, like, you kind of have that, oh, they're using robots, they're not breaking these laws of taking away creature sentience. Like, you can have robot guards, and they wouldn't be fully as intelligent as a normal android. Like, they're effectively programmed to do it, but they are not considered sentient in the way of like they make their own decisions, so they don't violate any agreements or anything.
So is it offensive to call an android a robot?
I feel like that would be one of those kind of like a what? I feel like that'd be a classic kind of insult between androids.
Oh,
like
okay.
Kind of calling someone a dummy or a fool. Like, Quit being a robot.
Quit being a robot. Think for yourself. Let's see. We went over core stuff, which I had a couple questions about, but you answered those. Do they... I feel like you and I kind of talked about this, but it sounds like, at least it used to be, that they could remember their past. Do they always remember their past if it's like an older core?
Originally they did. It wasn't until the Soul Forge was made where it was meant to basically kind of clean that out or to block that, because we had, what is it? Before that, that's where we had like that anti-robot or anti-construct sentiment. But you also had like the factions. There was the Silvermen that believed that they should just monitor existence and just watch. The Silvermen who believed that they were reincarnated heroes meant to do good deeds and mythic beliefs. And then there was the Flawless, which were the almost religious zealots of the android robot kind of community of like, they don't want fleshy creatures to touch them. They hopefully will just wait out the end death of all meat creatures and finally get to a constructed world. And so the Flawless mostly didn't interact with the players, but they had a couple violent members that were anti-human, that actively pursued trying to kill more humans and find ways to break the laws to make more constructed races than were allowed.
That's interesting. I love that. I mean, don't love it. I mean, but I love it. Story-wise, badass. So they do. So now the Soul Forge essentially like cleans the memories.
Yeah. Effectively, the point of it was to like be able to kind of control what souls got put into these cores, to prevent effectively that, right? Like an elvish supremacist wakes up in an immortal body, is like, I'm going to murder everyone again. They're like, okay, well, we can't just have this guy join the target workforce with genocidal dreams.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a problem. At the same time, like, you can't have the even the good guy one who wakes up is like, oh, I really want to go kill dragons. Hey guys, remember when dragons wandered the world? Everyone's like, man, I'm just trying to pay my bills.
I got so many bills. That's the only dragon I want to slay. Poverty. The poverty dragon. So I talked to you a lot about this kind of like, is there ways to access the memories of your core or activate them or see them? Yes,
generally per player that wants to be an android or a Silverman or a constructed race, I'll usually figure out a way with them of if they want to do that, how they want to do that. That's specific to them, right? Because I very much want players who are those races to be able to do whatever they want with their own story. But if that's something they want to pursue, then it's like, all right, cool. What triggers your character? What kind of ideas do we want to explore about, like, how does your character learn that they have past memories tied to something that they weren't or aren't anymore?
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's an interesting thought too, because it's like, even if, let's say you've been an android, you've been in your body now, living this life, you've finished your indentured servitude, you're doing what you want to do, and then all of a sudden you access those memories, and it's like, I'm a general, and I just, want to kill, whatever, want to take over the city, and it's just like, well, shit, that's not who I am anymore, like, there's sort of that conflict. Does accessing it bleed into the personality? Which I guess that more so probably depends on the player as well, if they want to play into that or not, or is there an answer there?
No, I mean, I always leave that up to the player. Like, say, I've definitely had players be like, oh, do you have a chart? Can we roll randomly? Like, I don't want to know, but I do want to access memories, right? Like, I want to find out that I have them, but I don't want to know what I was before.
Nice.
And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, yeah, that's a weird thing we can do. I like making weird random table lists.
Yeah, who doesn't love a good roll table?
Exactly. And so it's like, all right, cool. Well, yeah, I'll set this aside, and then I'll come up with like some triggers that maybe will start you down this path. Very much. Oh shoot, I want to say. I guess that does sound a little bit like. Have you read Brandon Sanderson books?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's Elantris. Is that the one where like they have the people who die and come back as gods, but they don't remember their life before?
Okay.
Oh, that one's great because the guy's like, maybe I was a great swordsman in my last life. And he pulls out a sword, and somebody just disarms him immediately. He's like, guess not.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's a really fun idea. But yeah, I guess it kind of touches on. I've had players kind of touch on that of like, I don't want to know what I was, so that way I can be surprised when my character finds out, oh, holy crap, I have a natural knack for accounting.
That's pretty rad. I like the idea of plugging into the Matrix type of thing, and it's just like, instead of I know Kung Fu, they're just like, I know accounting.
Guys, I want to make pivot tables. I got this.
I figured out a certain way we can get into the next tax bracket.
The poverty dragon's not going to like this.
So screwed. There's multiple companies that make androids.
Mm-hmm.
So which companies make androids, and what's the agreement? Like, is there only one Soul Forge, or is there multiple that they draw from? What's the agreement there?
So there's one Soul Forge, which is north of where the players, or where the podcast takes place. The main two companies that build androids are Amon Advancements and Balanced Engineering. Balanced Engineering is ran by Nyx, who is also an android, a second wave one. And I think you get introduced a bit to Nyx in the Desmond Date episode, as Nyx is one of the Big Ten. And so Nyx was the one that basically kind of set up the agreement with Amon Advancements of like the correct way you're supposed to handle being able to make androids. Nyx from the previous games was a fairly powerful outsider scion wizard kind of combo, and so was able to get those kind of planar contracts and rules put in place enough that TIFE and those companies found it easier to agree with them than to fight against them.
Nice. Is there a... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, there is a third company. So there is Tower Optics, which is the one that made Dosh, that makes the Dosh models, but I think it's been revealed here that Tower Optics is basically kind of a front for Audible's Control, which is the kind of core Audible that the other ones kind of come from. So that company is making androids outside of what they should be.
Are there consequences for those androids?
So far, there hasn't been, partially because in-game the way it's kind of being used is Tower Optics technically is not making new androids, as they are giving Audible's Audible's parts to cores, of which they act on their own. So they're not using the Soul Forge at all.
Okay, so yeah, I see. A loophole.
Yes. Yeah, so they have a loophole that's allowing them to be able to make this without creating too many issues or problems.
That makes sense. Corporate greed and all that, right? With the Mon and Balance, do they... I guess, what's the Steam Forge look like? What's the setup there? Like, how do they determine who... Is there just like a factory on two sides of it? Two factories on each side of it type of thing? Or
what is it? It's treated as basically kind of neutral ground. So neither corporation technically owns it. It falls to the north, or the Amalian Desert to the north. So yeah, it's one of those kind of what's the example I was trying to go for, of like a strong natural resource that everybody kind of has to agree to allow access to, but no one company is allowed to control it over another one. I'm trying to think if there's a good example of that in media. I guess maybe, yeah, that's tough.
Because when I think about that, right, it's like, oh, a resource, generally somebody gets greedy and they're like, yeah, there's no reason, like, we need all of this, right? Like, so they would take over it and guard it and cut off access to other people. But that doesn't happen here, which I think is...
Yeah, when I design my own fantasy capitalism, it becomes a lot of a different kind of issue when you think about like resources can be got from like off plane as well. You know, you're not dealing with like us here, right? Where like we're limited to our planet. And even though someone's like, there's $1 trillion meteor flying by, it's like, okay, how are you going to get that? They're like, well, we'll have to send rockets to try to mine meteors while they pass us. versus like in a fantasy realm where it's like, oh yeah, you can just go to another plane, and there's the plane of like Earth where there's just giant mineral deposits everywhere. Do what you want with it.
Yeah.
It's near infinite. So it's like, okay, so these things don't have to be fought over as much because they're not limited resources. Like you could restrict people from having access to it to make them limited, but that creates problems, especially if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like
I was just thinking of corporate greed, where it would be like, we can limit the supply, and then you can only get these from us, type of thing. But I guess also with the agreement of like, they aren't slaves, they can't be slaves. They, they can do their indentured servitude, but there's sort of that agreement. So it's kind of like, it's not like you're selling them that way, sort of, right? Like,
correct. Now, I would imagine though, if the players had put the Soul Forge in Dustbanter, Amon Advancements would control it completely.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's partially why in-game Amon Advancements has always been trying to expand and go further out and take more territory, but they're generally not trying to create direct conflict for it, to fight over it, that would cause people to actually get upset at them.
That makes sense. Okay.
I did send you a few pictures
I just saw
of 3 different androids. One of them is Nyx, the runner of Balanced Engineering. DS Forgeborn is an earlier android, so like there was a series, the Forgeborns are a whole bunch of androids that all are related by that name because they're all created at the same time. They're your iPhone 3. And then Pruxline eventually came back in the game, being the first Silverman that finally went through the gates of the Levant into a different realm, and then came back to take all the other Silvermen to basically the Holy Land and take them away from a world that wouldn't let them exist. So now there are no Silvermen in the game, there's just androids.
Okay, I was going to ask, are any of the Silvermen still around? But no.
Nope, they are now the mythical part about android lore of the robot god that came back and took his chosen people away. I think I've used in some home stories a couple times of like, there's 1 or 2 Silvermen that did not go, either couldn't make it there for whatever reason, were trapped, confined, or one that just chose to ignore a god that didn't come to help them sooner.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so you have the...
Makes sense.
Yeah, the robot atheist.
Yeah. Or even just vengeful of like, I think you can acknowledge that a god exists. You could, in these types of worlds, right? Like, there's a god, or there's gods and stuff, and they may have created you, but they abandoned you, so fuck them, right? Like,
yeah, like,
like, oh yeah, you show up when it's convenient. Great for you. How about these years, these eons of suffering, whatever.
That does get weird, because I guess you would have to acknowledge that they are... Well, actually, no, I guess you don't, right? Because, like, demons can grant spells. Like, warlocks can get spells through things.
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, it's like, well, you got clerics. The cleric's like, I literally talk to this god, and he gives me these powers. It's like, yeah, but so does, like, the sorcerer guys. Like, my grandpa banged a dragon, so now I've got magic blood. And it's like, okay, well, you can't be a dragon denialist? Or, I mean, I guess, what...
Yeah. I just like the idea of that being How I Met Your Mother, and it's just like a whole series of adventuring, like an adventuring party, and then it ends with that, with them meeting a dragon.
Yeah. Oh my god. And that's why you guys have can shoot magic missiles now. I don't know. I mean...
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Crazy. Okay, I feel like that answered a lot of those questions. Do cores ever reject the host, or does the body?
Yeah, so that's actually partially what Gene is. Kind of liquid metally robot that Forrest fought against, that's part of the X-Gargoyles.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's when Forrest first encounters them, it's just a core rolling around like in the pneumatic tubes of the building.
Yeah.
And because it doesn't want to be confined to a single form. And so, like, if it has to go out and do stuff, it will don basically its liquid metal body to move around to take a humanoid form. But its preference is just to be kind of a hamster ball that rolls around and does what it does.
Which is badass. That sparks another question of, like, how like I have Geo, right? So if Geo's body's damaged severely enough, or if he's just like, oh, you know what, I want to transfer. Can you transfer cores without going to the Soul Forge?
Like put your core into a new body?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you basically remove the old core. So, for instance, like Gene is now on his third form. From starting out from being that ball, he has liquid metal form, but then he has an advanced form past that. And he's working on his final form to put his core into. So yeah, I mean, technically, like, when an android takes enough damage to die, their core is still available to be taken out and moved to a different body if need be, unless the core is specifically attacked. So, like, if the players fought an android and they're like, cool, we put it down, if they want to make sure that android doesn't get up, they break the core.
Brutal.
Otherwise, yeah, technically their allies come along, they can pop open the androids and take that core and get a new body for it, repair the body they had before.
That makes sense. So if they break the core, because there's the Soul Forge, like when, I think we've talked about this, but when a robot kind of expires or reaches the end of its sort of, I don't know what you would call that, sustainability, it's stability, you return it to the Soul Forge, right? Like it returns to the Soul Forge and then gets cleaned and can be used again, right?
Yep, I mean, barring something that blocks souls. So, like, for instance, in the episodes with Lucius and Ruben and Medusa, they find all those gems underneath in the vaults that are part of the pacts of Dust Banter, that people in Dust Banter's souls get captured for the person who controls the promise to be able to use. So, like, an android that dies in the city will have their soul taken by the city. It will not go back to the Forge. If they die outside of that, then yeah, it goes back into the general pool to be potentially reused again.
So if your core is broken, if they obliterate a core, is that now dead? Or does the core essentially, like, is that kind of like a soul?
Yeah, I think everyone notes that if the core is broken, then that soul won't remember that life.
Okay, but it still exists.
Right. So technically that soul can be reused, but it just won't have memory of that existence because it didn't choose to end and basically take that with it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and that's a good little safeguard against, like, revenge bots, you know? Do the cores or souls, because they're always going back to the Soul Forge, well, not always, but, like, you know, they're being washed and then put back out there. Do they ever go bad? Like, okay.
I've never had them expire, and I think maybe I couldn't think of, like, a way to make that fun, right? It becomes too large, like a weird meta problem of, like you and I trying to, like, solve global warming kind of thing. Like, well, what do you do if the whole planet is whether intentionally or not, the whole planet is contributing towards this thing that's just literally bigger. Like, it requires everybody to do something. As an android, you go, oh, some souls might go bad, and then you're like, okay, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, they don't get used? Does that mean, like, the person's bad? How do you convey that into a way that a player could interact with it that's fun for them and not just Cyberpunk 2077, where it's like, oh, you got a Keanu Reeves in your head until you die.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if a player came to me and said, hey, I want to play an android with, like, a corrupted soul, meaning I'll only live, like, so long, and they have an imaginary friend, blah, 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 and they do this, I'd be like, all right, cool, let's make that work. As long as it doesn't get weird for the other players. If you know what I mean? Like, you can't do all your role-playing with your imaginary Keanu. You have to talk to the other people at the table.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Because that would get frustrating, I think.
Yeah, I did definitely play with somebody who played a character who talked to their familiar a lot, and it's like, okay, well, this feels less like role-playing at a table and me listening to you talk to yourself. And you're not the GM, which is allowed to talk to themselves, because they have to play all the NPCs. That's okay. That's perfectly fine.
Of course, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah, don't you take that DM fiat away from them.
It's the one thing we have.
I mean, sure, I can use any monster and make up any number, but I get to talk to myself, and you all have to enjoy it.
Exactly. What about notable robots in lore?
Yeah, I mean, the first Silverman is lore noteworthy because eventually they become Pruxline, the robot god. Nyx is another large one because they, in the fourth campaign, were part of a group that had to go to the end of the universe to talk to one of the defenders there because all three parties were fighting against this god creature. And so Nyx and Andromeda were a set of androids that went to go ask help from basically this living document at the end of the world before they came back and they made balance engineering. Automol is another notable one for being a bad guy robot, a bad guy android, or a bad guy Silverman that worked with Bastion Silver, which is the head of Prism now. I'm trying to think of other big ones. We had Aegis, which was a Silverman who found the parts to kind of become a new pseudo deity before they ascended and basically shed their android or shed their Silverman form to become a minor deity. I mean, of course, these aren't androids, but they are the robot liches, the constructed liches that create Dusk Banter. So we had the 9 robot gods there. They weren't gods, but they were high-level wizards that removed everybody else's ability to cast arcane magic. So nobody could find out that they weren't gods. They were just high-level robot wizards. But they eventually get killed off, and so they are around in concept, but not in being anymore, though. What is it? One of their arms, I think in your episode with Phil, the scythe Estelle Del Rose was using, was literally the arm of one of the robot gods.
Did we know that?
No, I don't think so.
That's cool. That's cool lore.
That was gifted to her on her birthday party episode. That the party went there to go steal a bunch of stuff, and the Red Bandana stole the boat. It's now the one Lucius uses now that he floats around himself with his telekinesis, and like a Castlevania bad guy, throws his god scythe at people.
The Hand of Golshur.
Mm-hmm.
I had to look it up, but but I did. Yeah, I know we sort of talked about that, but I don't think I connected all that. I'm not always the brightest. And then, oh shit, something you said sparked something, and now I can't remember it. That's okay. Oh yeah, so I think we kind of talked about this, but how long is their like indentured servitude generally?
I always left that up to the player. How long did they want to say it had been?
Oh, okay.
Though generally in game, I try not to make it more than, for just general purposes, like it should never be more than like half the lifetime of a person.
Yeah.
Barry, which is the android that works for Lucius's family, would have been given that contract by his parents to be able to work for the family for as long as he can until Lucius ends that contract or Lucius basically gets to middle age.
Oh, okay.
So imagine they would have gotten that android when they had their 3 kids and been like, cool, hey, get them to like 35 and then we'll call it good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Crazy.
Let's see. Oh, and I sent you a picture of Golshurn so you can see what that looks like.
Let's pull this up. Oh, badass. Holy shit. I literally don't even know how to describe this thing. Is it 3 legs, sort of? Or is it, I mean, are they all just legs and arms?
Yeah, what is it? 1 hand for writing, 1 hand for branding, 1 hand for reaping with the scythe, and then 4 limbs, 4 legs to go from there.
Oh yeah, there's the leg. Yes. That is badass. You draw some fucked up shit, my friend. That is so cool. So are I guess with the wizards and all that, are they are their body parts and these things all sort of scattered about? Are they sort of mythical items?
Yeah, a lot of them have parts. Back during that campaign, Sean's character, who was a druid, collected all the robot god bodies and buried them out in the desert parts. Another player, I think, eventually kind of broke that little druid cave open. And so various god parts now have been distributed amongst the world as various people buy, steal, or collect them for their own purposes.
That makes sense. Do you ever mix organics and android? Is that a thing that's happened?
Like, do Cyborg?
Cyborg, yeah, I guess cyborgs, huh?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like what Alien Earth.
Yeah, but that's sort of different too, though, because it's kind of like, I guess, trying to give. It's a reverse cyborg, right? Like you're trying to give a soul a more human form, like, or give a core a more human form. Does that make? Because like a cyborg, right? You're like, it's a human taking on robotic parts.
Yeah, and like there definitely are augments for that because since we have a cyberpunk theme.
Yeah.
You're gonna have that.
But then the reverse of a core trying to become more human?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I think about it, I guess we have not touched on that concept as much of trying to go the other way. Most because I can really, like, when I think about it, I guess what you run into, like, can that just be solved with transmutation? Like, because if you have a world with magic, could somebody just be like, hey, I'm going to cast a spell and now your android form is your human form? Welcome to a digestive system that's never worked.
Fair, yeah. But I guess from a Nick's standpoint, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with being an android.
Yeah. That's where it gets in that weird spot of like, okay, why would your android want to be a person? Now, I can totally get if you want to put that as part of their backstory, right? Like, they remember being this person. I was a famous artist who lived on this island, and I want to turn myself back into that artist when I do my painting. And it's like, okay, that's a cool way to imagine your character kind of shifting between those modes, right? But yeah, like when I think about it, no, I have not had the android that loses their arm and gets a human arm attached.
Yeah, well, and even just like a artificially created flesh body, right? Like,
oh, okay, like going that. So that could get into some weird stuff that I kind of similar play with, like the Alfiers things I do with the perpetuals of like souls get put into weapons, right?
Yeah.
And then the wielder of that weapon supposedly redeems that person if they were bad, or if they were good, they have their own mentor and a sword. I guess, yeah, there is the potential there, since souls can be transferred between items or objects, that I guess if somebody cloned a physical body with nothing in it, right, just made a body, you could bind a soul to it, which means you could take the soul from a core and put it into a fleshy body.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Thinking about the cyborg, though, now I'm thinking of like, well, can you integrate, could you have a cyborg, a human that has like cyborg attachments, and those attachments have a core in it? Which I guess that's kind of like, that's like the Alpha. I can never say it.
Yeah. What is it? I think the limitation there is, I think I've said the cores are about the size of a grapefruit. So like, probably couldn't have that like installed in there, but like you could have a cool hand or limb that has the core as part of it, right? Large enough to contain it.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, like this is my left leg, but this is my right leg, Steven.
Yeah. Okay. Or like Barrett from Final Fantasy VII. He has the giant minigun. It could be like stored in there, and
yeah. That would also probably be a very fun way to incorporate like a familiar for a mage, right? Rather than have like, my guy has a magical owl I hang out with and talk with. You're like, oh, my best friend is this, is part of my gun arm, or kind of thing, right?
I sort of imagine like a Jarvis type situation, but Jarvis is like an actual, android. It has a soul. So it's like you could install it somewhere, and then you could install it in your arm, and then have it connected into your other cybernetic implants, so it has access to that. But it's like you'd have to trust that thing. That'd have to be your best friend, like the two of you are one.
Yeah. You just make me think of a human Voltron. Like, get me 5 androids with attitude, as they get together and it forms a normal dude. It's like, and each limb is a different android controlling it. Yeah,
totally. But I want to go to the store. Well, I want to go to Taco Bell.
I mean, sure, I heard swerve from Voltron to Power Rangers there fast, but you all get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all the questions I had, plus more.
Perfect. Trying to think, is there anything else fun to throw in there? I don't think so. Oh, actually, here is a little fun one for you. Sean did these drawings forever ago of various NPCs chibi style. On the far right is Audible Crossed. Is the Silverman that breaks up and is now a Dosh.
That's awesome. That's very pretty. What about the one on the far left?
That was Shrine, which was a Silverman that wanted that was opposed to Mechanus, was an anarchist robot wanting to fight the Planar Authority.
Hell yeah. Good love a good anarchist.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean did a whole set of those for all the NPCs and PCs of the game. And it was a lot of fun because there's a lot. Ignore the obvious Fox Mulder, but on the far left there was Candace, our shotgun-wielding bounty hunter robot.
Ooh, that's cool.
But yeah, those were all a lot. Sean's an amazing artist, so it's always very fun to see all the weird stuff he makes.
Yeah, that is really fun. I love that.
Well, with that being all, Riley, where can they find you?
Oh, little old me. On the socials at FF Adventure Co. You can listen to Friend and Foe Adventure Co. wherever you podcast. Yeah, but that's it.
Perfect. Well, thanks for hanging out. And
yeah, and if you're listening to this because of me, then make sure you listen to the rest of Big Campaign Stories. It's honestly one of my favorite podcasts. It's one of the only ones that I keep up with, like, consistently. So a lot of times I let a lot of them like go a month or two and build up episodes so I can binge them, but Big Campaign Stories is one that I generally stay on top of.
Aw, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, just listen to Jeff's voice. Ugh, so good.
You want to talk about robots?
Whoa, hell yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. All right, bye. Thanks for listening. Like, rate, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, we had Riley on as guest. I love Riley's show, so please go check out Friend and Foe Adventure Co. As far as all the pictures referenced, I will be putting them in the Discord chat associated with this episode. Your intro and outro were Consequences. You also heard Lore, both by Nihilore. And that's all. Alright, hope you're doing okay out there, and, well, looks like I might get some snow. That's weird. Alright, bye!